Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Monday Mashup, the show we bring you each and every week where we break down all the Premier League's action and we also discuss all the latest hot topics in football. Joining me tonight for the Monday Mashup, my partner on the previews, reviews, collector's corner, wherever there's an episode, this man crops up. Not even on Liverpool shows, he's been cropping up lately. Darren, how we doing, my man?
Peace and love, brother. Peace and love.
We should nearly break into song here, should we? Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Absolutely. Let's get into this anyway. As always, you'll find the videos, Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube, Spotify for audio versions of the show. And if you'd like to hit us up, we're on Twitter at _upper_tier, or you'll get us on Facebook and Instagram, the upper tier. Let's get into this. Let's run down through the results. First of all,
Niall, I just want to tell everyone why I'm wearing these tonight, yeah?
Go on.
It's obviously my Mystic Meg crystal ball is kind of, the glare from it is like killing me eyeballs. So I just had to dull things down a little bit. Like I still look real pretty underneath them now, but like it's the shine out my crystal ball. It's down it for me, pal, yeah?
I should preface that by saying, so people who are viewing the show know what we're talking about. Go back and look at the Premier League preview and you'll understand what Darren means. He hit it out of the park this week. Let's get into it anyway. The match that cost Dean Smith his job. Southampton won, Aston Villa 0. Bit of a shock.
Yeah, it wasn't. Villa have been on a tough run lately. That's their fifth loss in a row. He's really struggled for me to find his best 11 since obviously Grealish left the building, and then the addition of Danny Ings and Emi Buendia and Leon Bailey and stuff like that. Or I really felt like the squad was so much in such a better place than it had been. But unfortunately, he just wasn't able to get a formation and a style of play that suited all the lads and get them on the pitch at the same time,
Yeah, I'd say also Hasselhoetel had the boys ramped up. These guys came in and they bought some of our players, but we're not going to let that keep us down in any way, shape, or form.
I'm a little bit fan of Ralph. I've mentioned that before. Ralph can pull it out of the bag at times, man. He really can,
Yeah. What do you make of the 3-piece suit these days?
Yeah, he's really going for it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's looking very dapper, isn't he?
We were watching it unfold, and my mother-in-law just kind of looked at the screen at one stage, and now Ralph gets a bit into it, and she was like, "That man does not look well." And I was like, "He'll be a lot better in about 3 minutes when that ref blows that whistle." Up until then, it's squeaky bum time for El Ralph. Every win's a big one for Southampton.
Well, he's looking a lot better than he did as the governor in The Walking Dead, anyway. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's move on then. The lunchtime kickoff there on Saturday. Man United 0, Man City 2.
Yeah, as you said, let's move on. Let's not dwell on this, Niall. Listen, it's another poor day at the office, isn't it? Really, for United. Yeah. I was at the Liverpool game, and while the Liverpool game was bad, I did think there was a tinge that this game is almost worse. The way they kind of toyed with us and how toothlessly we were and stuff like that. It was scary, man. It really was. Like City just took the foot off the pedal after half time and just decided to keep ball and knock it around, and we could not get the ball back. Like that's the scary thing. It was genuinely like men against boys.
Yeah, it looked like it was like a training session really at times, wasn't it? And City looked like the home team yet again, and I don't know how many times United playing at home have looked like the away team this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and listen, I can get it from a fan's point of view where obviously the lads have reached a stage where they're like, you know what, where we really had enough of this shit, and people are voting with their feet now and they're leaving the stadium and stuff. But I'd also say, very hard for a team to get back into a game like that without the 12th man and without the lads kind of getting behind them as well. It's a two-way street, and I can kind of see both sides of it, to be honest with you. But United are in a sorry state at the minute now.
Yeah, we'll get into it later on when we start talking about the managers and stuff like that, because obviously there's been some huge developments over the last 48 hours. Saying managers. Join us on the show, Ian. How we doing, Ian, from the Chelsea Roar? How we doing, Ian?
From the everything. I'm all good. Good to see you, boys. Nice to see the summer is in Darren's house. I like it.
Good evening, Ian.
Hello, hello.
Let's move on then. Brighton 1, Norwich 2. Norwich getting their first win.
Brentford won Norwich 2.
Oh, sorry, Brentford won Norwich 2. Sorry, Norwich getting their first win of the season, and then they dropped the sword on Daniel Farke. What did you think of that?
It was a shocker. was a really big shocker, to be honest with you. I had Ivan Toney as my captain in fantasy football. I was like, he's going to have a field day, this kid, today. And Norwich were good. You know, they were really, really good. I watched the highlights back, and like, you couldn't say they didn't deserve a win, if I'm honest.
That boy Matthias Norman looks the business, doesn't he?
Looks very good. There's our own Brandon Williams as well looked like he played well. Max Aarons and stuff like that. So there's signs of life there. I've one thing about Norwich that just baffles me a little bit. They spent big bucks in the summer on Angus Gunn, who was Brian Gunn's son. You know, he was with City, and then he went to Southampton and stuff like that. They spent big bucks on him. They're still persistent with Tim Krul, who has struggled at times recently. He's really, really getting on. And I just think when you're a team in the bottom three of the league in the relegation zone, and you need your keeper to be right at it, you know, I think you should be looking at Angus Gunn and going, you know what, we need to pin our colours to the mast with this kid here. We won't be shocked when and if a new manager comes in at Norwich, if we see Gunn getting a game and seeing Norwich's, you know, a little revival from Norwich, you know.
Yeah, I say, Ian, you might have seen this. I don't know whether you've seen it after the match, but Daniel Farke was interviewed after the match, and he was so excited about getting his first win. And he was saying how the team could push on now and stuff like this. They're after getting this first one under the belt. And then an hour later, he gets the chop. It was unbelievable. Like,
delighted for him. His fucking attitude towards Billy Gilmore stunk. His attitude to when he was asked about Billy Gilmore, said, "Well, I don't care. It's not my problem." I said, "Well, why are you bringing the kid in? Like, what kind of man are you if you're going to say that about a lad who's just gone 20? Do you know what I mean? Fair enough to say, look, he's got a bit to learn. What you know what I mean? What not? But I just thought his attitude stunk in that sense. And fuck the guy. Yeah, and potentially Lampard coming in, so Billy's safe. And your man Brandon Williams as well. He's a good little player as well. I think that loan move will do him the world of good as well, Darren.
But the last place you want to be is at Old Trafford at the moment, isn't it? Regardless of who you are.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Ronaldo would rather be at Norwich at the moment.
I think he fucking would as well. You know, he'd probably get better service.
Let's move on. Potter stumbling again. Brighton 1, Newcastle 1. That was one I thought was nailed on for Brighton, but Newcastle came back into it with a goal from Hayden. So
it was a little bit of an accumulator killer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a couple of those, you know.
It was the one where you just go, why the fuck did I even touch that? You know what I mean?
And it really was a game in two halves. You know, Brighton had a great first half, 1-0 up at half time, bossed the whole game. And then Newcastle came out in the second half and genuinely looked like a different team. And you kind of thought, wow, where have these been for 45 minutes, you know? So yeah, absolutely. It was good to see them. You know, they've obviously got Graham Jones in there at the minute, and he's doing the stand-in job until Eddie was named today, obviously, and they put in a shift from on the weekend. You know, it was good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea won Burnley 1 in.
Go on. Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ. It's not often. Usually you have Sean Dyche, who I know there's a lot of people on the Monday mashup that aren't a fan of Sean Dyche that aren't here.
You just mean Dino, right?
Yeah,
okay.
But I thought Dyche said it after the game perfectly. He was like, look, I have no problem with Tuchel being annoyed at that. He goes, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be like, how did we not win that? Do you know what I mean? It was unfortunate. I mean, we absolutely battered them from pillar to post, and just unfortunately couldn't put the chances away. And you know, they got that snatch and grab goal, which left me. It felt like a loss for me at the time, even though I knew we'd pretty much be going into the international break on top, regardless. But obviously, with what transpired the following day, kind of made the salty tears kind of go away a little bit. But still, you know, it was like good performances from players. I mean, Barkley had probably the best game he's had in a Chelsea shirt. Bar his fucking sit or miss from 8 yards out. You're going, how can you be getting 60 grand a week and not put that on target at least? But yeah, there was some. Look, at the end of the day, you're expecting the likes of Andreas Christensen and some of these lads to be scoring goals the way like a Lukaku or a Werner would be, but they're not on the team at the moment. So, and I think Havertz took his chance well. So,
yeah,
lots of positives from the game. I mean, it's not something to be. If it had been a shitty performance and we were under the cosh, and you kind of came away, you'd be like, oh, I'm not happy with that. But I mean, like I said, it was just total domination. Got hit on the break and fair play to Burnley.
Typical Burnley draw, wasn't it?
Yeah, they took their
way
chance
they play.
well, and
Yeah.
credit to them. Do you know what I mean? All
Yeah.
credit to them for taking their chance. So
And had another chance after that as well. Vidra again had a great chance after that as well.
Yeah.
Didn't put away. Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 0. Darren, you'll be happy with that. You're a big fan of Vieira at the moment at Palace.
I'm a big fan of a couple of them boys up at Palace.
Right, isn't he?
Yeah.
Our boy Conor Gallagher, lads, expect him in the team next year. Expect him in the Chelsea next year.
He's one of the only Chelsea players at the minute out on loan that, for me, has a legitimate chance of breaking into that starting 11.
Yeah,
legitimate.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
I watched a little bit of analysis on him this morning on Sky, and you know, Palace are using him in a very clever sort of a way. He's actually the presser of Palace. You know. Yeah. They're talking about him being an absolute engine in there. And he goes and he presses really, really high. And he presses so high and he occupies so many at the back that all of a sudden Palace can take a huge step forward and compress the space between the defenders and the midfield. And all of a sudden guys are on top of them, you know, on top of the opposition. And they're like, we've no way out of this. And
I watched them play live, Darren, at the Bowes game, Lampard's first game at Chelsea. Yeah. And it was kind of one, you know, when you're watching, it's one thing watching on telly, but when you're watching a certain player and you're looking to see what they can do, one thing that you pointed out there, and it was known from the academy days, that the boy just has an engine, very similar to Mason Mount in that sense. He's your presser. He'll just put pressure on. But I think even more so than Mount, he's actually a better finisher as well. He's got that kind of Lampard, he'll pop up with those important goals. He's a good size as well, isn't he? He's a good 6 foot. Like he looks stocky as well. Like he looks like he's built for this league, you know.
And actually, that's probably where I think he could improve a little bit, because he's actually quite small if you've seen him.
No, but I mean, he is at only 20. What I'm saying is that he's got a good frame there. He's a good height. Like Mason Mount's a little bit shorter.
He's under 6 foot, and he's not much more than about 10 stone. Like, there's very little of him there. You know, I
saw him up close and personal now, and I have to say he is definitely 6 foot. I'm looking at his stats here on the Chelsea website here.
I think physically, as he develops, you'll see even more from him, because even at that, you know, he's, you know, when he's going up, and he's very, very combative, which I love. You know, he's not afraid. He's in there hustling and bustling. He's elbows, and he's trying to roll guys and stuff like that. And he's super aggressive without necessarily losing control of himself. You know, which is super.
6 foot 12 stone 5. Like, so I mean, that's a decent size, to be fair.
They're lying to you on Wikipedia, man. Absolutely lying to you.
It's not Wikipedia. It's the Premier League.
He's also very strong in possession as well. He doesn't give the ball up cheap either. Which I've been impressed with him, and also his speed from box to box is so impressive.
I mean, for Vieira to turn around, right, and say, I'm gonna put all of this onto this kid, and we're gonna make him our focal point, right? Now you think about Patrick Vieira. Okay, as a manager, you know, we're probably still getting to know him slightly, but as a player, if you look at the career he's had as a player, there's no way he's signed his name to a kid like that and given him that type of a role unless he absolutely sees him as a star.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, I think one thing we can all agree on, it's absolutely criminal, the England decisions this week, isn't it? The fact that he's not in that team on the form that he's on just goes to show you how corrupt the FA still is, and Gareth Southgate is a bottler.
He can be guaranteed the clubs will all be delighted.
Clubs will be delighted.
He's involved in the other 21s though, so it's not.
I know, but it makes no difference, man. Like, there's players there that got called up, you know, that on form have no right being in that team ahead of someone like a Conor Gallagher. No way.
Yeah, but they're players that have been involved for quite a while, and they're maybe more of a senior player. Like, he's going to drip feed the youth through. He's not going to crash them all through at the same time. You know,
well, he
like,
done it with Zaka and all these lads. You know what I mean? So it's horses for course.
But he didn't bring like 5 or 6 of them at the same time. You know, he's going to slow play it slightly. Like, if he goes into the side right now, whose position does he take? Legitimately,
it's getting them in. It's getting them in the setup, though. Do you know what I mean? It's the likes of him.
But you see, they're still at that age. Like, Southgate's point is, he's going to get game time with the under 21s, and he's going to get valuable international experience on the pitch, which he probably won't get with the senior side. So it's better for him to get minutes under his belt. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
maybe find the tempo of international football rather than him sitting on the bench at Wembley for 90 minutes with them playing like San Marino or something. You know?
I personally think some of these lads are getting more valuable minutes playing in the Premier League than under 21 level football international minutes. So there's that argument.
You see, it's a completely different style of football. You know how much difference the tempo is in international football in comparison to the Premier League, and how much less physical it is. Like, you've got a case for Gallagher. Like, if he's playing that type of game in the international football, like, he put himself fairly close to the line. You know what I mean? From a refereeing standpoint, because he's very, very physical. And maybe the challenges and the way he goes into tackles in games, he's not going to go away with it. So he's learning that as well. That's not.
He's also nailed on as a future senior player anyway.
Oh, well, he might be, because he can play for Scotland or Ireland too. So these are the kind of decisions you have to make very quickly. Do you know what I mean? And kind of make sure that they're.
Just think for a moment how amazing it would be to see him do the reverse of Declan Rice and Jack Grealish. Yeah. That would just make my little heart sing. I have to tell you, what a kid to revolve your team around. That'd be huge for Ireland. That'd nearly get me into international football. Almost.
Yeah, 100%. It's like when you look at even the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi, he's looking at someone like Saka and all who isn't performing at the moment, and he's getting called up to the England squad. He's 2 years younger than me, and I'm not getting called up. So stick your under 21 cap. I actually think I might go and play for Ghana. You know what I mean? This is the kind of problems you have as a manager when you're not giving these lads caps.
Yeah, but Gareth Southgate's not worried about going to play for Ghana either. Like, you know what I mean?
No, he's not. But
there's 10 more.
Yeah, there is 10 more, but you're talking about lads that are playing at the top level for the top 2-3 clubs, and not just him. I think there's a couple of other lads, isn't there, that we're saying that.
Yeah, but Hudson-Odoi is only getting a look in now because the 2 boys are out injured. When they come back, he'll go back to the bench.
Well, but he's still playing well, is what I'm saying, and he's just one example. I mean, Gay for Crystal Palace has been phenomenal as well. He's 22, 23. There's no way you put Tyrone Mings in ahead of him. You know what I mean? Again, who's not going to see an international game. Again, I know it's a different conversation, but it's just more of a. Yeah. And plus, it doesn't bother me either way, because I hope they fail at whatever they do.
I suppose from Southgate's point of view as well, Arsenal are on a serious run at the moment, so there is form there,
Yeah, as opposed to Chelsea, who are at the top of the league.
Yeah, but look at where Arsenal have come from, bottom of the league right up to where they are now, so the run is very impressive nonetheless.
Okay.
You don't think they're on a good run?
No, they are, but you're talking about a team that's on a good run versus the team that's top of the league.
Yeah, but you're talking about a team that's on a good run with a player who plays every week as opposed to a player who's only in.
No, but Gallagher is playing every week.
No, I'm not talking about Gallagher. We were talking about Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in general players that are in form. That's generally the rule. You should be calling the players that are in form. That's it. Simple.
But Saka's in form. He's not out of form.
I don't think he's playing great, to be honest with you. No better than someone like Hudson-Odoi or.
Yeah, but you see, and here's the thing about it, you've got to look at how you're judging a player. Like, if we're just maybe judging him on goals and assists, we might go, maybe he's not in top form. But if we're watching games and you're seeing his work rate and you're seeing what he's doing in the game, like I watched the game yesterday.
Oh, yeah, same can be said for both players, though. That's why I'm making the comparison with the two. That's all I'm saying. You at least you can get someone out of the squad to at least give the kid his first international cap. Do you know what I mean? And say, well done.
I don't think it's an urgency at the minute for him. Like, he's got so much time ahead of him, Gallagher, he really.
Oh, no, I was saying Hudson-Odoi. Sorry.
Well, yeah, Hudson-Odoi, he's still only out of nappies. Like, what is he, 22?
20, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so much time ahead of him. I think Hudson-Odoi really needs to focus on his club career for the minute, to be honest with you.
I think so, yeah.
I'd want to see him become a regular in either that Chelsea side or elsewhere, and see him build something for himself where he was nailed on somewhere. You know,
he's got all the potential, hasn't he? Yeah,
he absolutely has.
100%.
You know?
I also think when Southgate comes out of that position and they appoint a new manager, imagine the team that they will have at that stage. If you've got Saka, Hudson-Odoi, Gallagher, all these players coming through, it's going to be incredible, that England team, when they go that full circle and change it out and all. You know, it's going to be incredible.
Foden and all these boys.
He's very Jack Grealish. He's very pragmatic. You see, Southgate. So I mean, like a lot of his play is based around how they perform from set pieces and stuff like that. He's nailing a lot onto free kicks and corners and stuff like that as their goal scoring chances. But like another forward-thinking kind of a manager, a proactive kind of a manager, is going to see that as a huge opportunity to go in and get wingers and get guys moving at pace and, you know, one-touch football. It could be unbelievable because the calibre of player England are producing over the last maybe 5 to 10 years has gone way up in comparison to where it was.
It's because the pool of international players they have now, they're like from Ireland, England, Wales, and Scotland. Now they're from fucking Ghana, Nigeria, everywhere in Europe. So it's like it's been crazy, hasn't it? The way it's worked. I'd be like, you're not in the EU anymore. Stop taking our EU players. Fuck off. English only.
Goes to show the strength of the league, doesn't it? At the moment, when you think, about it. Unbelievable.
It's comfortably the best league in the world at the minute. Like easily. It's not even in doubt. We went through a period where, you know, you were tossing a coin between England and Spain. It's not even a coin toss anymore. Like the first 5 teams in the Premier League are probably better than anything else in Europe. You know, maybe with Bayern and PSG aside, you know, and the only reason they're at it is because they're in leagues where they can walk it with, you know, the B team kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, although PSG,
yeah, let's move on. Arsenal running out winners against Watford and continuing the run.
Another clean sheet.
Another clean sheet as well, yeah, which is really impressive for them.
Yeah, the boy Ramsdale again.
Yeah, top absolutely. Everton versus Tottenham 0-0. This is one I was quite disappointed in. I thought there would be goals in this one.
I was very happy looking at 2 former managers in mine that just shot blanks. I thought it was and especially for Conte, I was a bit of a Benitez fan yesterday. I'm not gonna lie.
I did promise you this was going to be the worst game of the weekend by a country mile. Do you remember that?
You were on form this week, Darren, as we were saying yesterday. Yeah.
And do you know what happened, right? I looked at Conte coming in the door. Right, his first game is obviously the Europa or the conference, whatever we have this week, yeah. And it was all over the place. It was completely chaotic. And I just couldn't see him signing up for another game like that. I just thought to myself, he's going to say to the boys, listen, even if we don't win, don't concede. Just don't concede. And obviously with Everton, right, clean sheet, let's build from there and let's go on. And from an Everton point of view, Rafa's got that mentality all the time. You know, let's just keep it tight. So I could never see, and it was actually 6-1 for a 0-0 draw. I was like, Jesus, lads, the El Bookie's giving us money here. Thanks very much for that. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're right, Darren. You touched on a very good point there. I mean, if you think about it, as much as it pains me to say, because I fucking hate Spurs, as you know, it was. I mean, it's more than a point gained for Tottenham. It's a little bit of confidence in the back, because for him, it's I start my business at the back to create that solidity at the back. So in his mind, that's 2 clean sheets, even if it is in a C-list European league. That's they won Thursday night. Oh, sorry, it was 3-2. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, I did get that wrong. Sorry, but in terms of in the Premier League anyway.
Absolutely, and you're right. He nearly saw that as 4 points rather than 1. 100%. You know, when was the last time Spurs had a clean sheet and looked like they weren't going to cough at and up? Ben Godfrey had Everton's sole shot on target in the game from 25 yards. And he was playing centre half. So I mean, if that's what you nullified Everton down to, you've had a decent day at the office.
And he had Eric Dyer obviously in that position, kind of as the sweeper centre back, which I kind of figured he would do, because he does like those kind of ballers. He's a defender anyway. You know.
I read an article just over the weekend about who could be the winners and losers in the Tottenham squad based on Conte coming in, and the big push was that everybody saw this was going to be massive for Eric Dyer.
Yeah,
and straight away, you know, he's in. He's given a job. he's told this is how you do things. It's going to be very, very simple. You've only got one job to do. Don't focus on anything else other than this. And to his credit, he was able to do it. And Conte's obviously looking at him now going, okay, maybe we can work with him. Maybe he's
coachable.
And I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that too. Yeah.
Leeds won, Leicester won. Goals from Rafinha and Barnes, as far as I know. Ran out a draw. Again, I looked at the stats and I think Leeds kind of shaded it, but just didn't get it done. And then
yesterday was really building up to the next game, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, absolutely.
They're really struggling for goals, Leeds, aren't they? They're missing Patrick Bamford.
Yeah, Paddy Bamford, he's a big one,
yeah. They always say you don't know what you've got till it's gone, and poor old Patrick's out at the minute, and Leeds really look like they're missing him. I'm gonna make one of my Mystic Meg predictions, lads. Bielsa needs a couple of wins here, or he's on very shaky ground. As good as and as highly thought of as Leeds have him up there, I don't think they're gonna sit on this. If he loses another couple of games, I think they're gonna make a move.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then we rounded out the weekend with the Super Sunday: West Ham 3, Liverpool 2. Moyes getting the better of Klopp.
Sorry, what score was it?
The glasses are off now, and this is what it was all built.
Put those glasses back on, or I'm not talking to you.
What score was it?
It was 3-2 to West Ham, and I'm praying that you did it. Don't tell me you didn't do it now.
You fucking bet I did it.
Sorry, Darren. Take the glasses off one more time from there. Just one more time for me and the fans. You fucking did it, didn't you?
You fucking bet I did.
You must be the happiest Man United fan around at the moment, are you?
Absolutely. I'm living the dream here, brother. Yeah. I am fucking styling and profiling. I put that out there the other night and everybody thought this cunt's on crack. And then on Sunday evening, they're all like, holy shit, man. What does this bloke know that we don't know?
This lad is Jim Cornette with the racket. He's got the gold rims around the racket and everything right now. He's fucking...
Tune in to find out, baby.
It comes down to the quality of the crack.
Wouldn't you know who won the pony?
Absolutely. Annie rubbed my face in it yesterday evening. Don't worry. I got many a message. Don't worry.
Listen, to be honest with you, I thought that Darren yesterday evening was well capable of coming on, because I thought if I joined Darren as well, it would have been too much, because we were voice noting each other during the match. So it was like, it'll be too much. I'll end up getting stabbed to death, or Darren will get stabbed to death. Dean will meet us both and just put a sword through us or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into some of the hot topics.
Was that it? We're not going to talk about much of the game, no?
We did. I spoke about the game. Moyes got the better of the Klopp. What else can I say? Alisson had a howler. Robbo had a howler. Hendo wasn't in the game once he got tackled by Cresswell. What else do you want me to say?
Brentford defender again.
I'm only teasing, Noel. I'm only teasing. and you've done that. You had to. In fairness, Noel, you showed up yesterday because you are the host and whatnot, and you did show up, and you had to kind of talk about.
He was fronting. In fairness,
that was pretty raw. Yeah.
If I don't show up, there ain't no show. I got to show up.
It's true. You should have just let me and Darren do it.
I should have got one of you two to host.
The only thing I will say is, and I love Klopp as a coach. I absolutely love him. I've said that, and it pains me to say that as a Man United fan. To say that I think Jurgen Klopp is like right out of the top drawer. I have to say that, right. And I've also said to you, if I was a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't worry about losing players. I'd be worried about losing Klopp. But he is salty as fuck after a game. He really, really is. Like, to have anything to say about that first goal, you have a brass neck.
He's Wenger level, isn't he?
Whatever level. Listen, the Cresswell thing can go either way. I've my thinking on it. I know Niall has different thinking on it, but that can go either way. But for the first goal, like, to come out and be like, giving it this and giving it that, your goalkeeper is like fucking Andre the Giant. He is huge. He's a physical specimen, right? And for him to just be fucking bullied in a 6-yard box the way he was by 5'9" Mikel Antonio, who only leaned on him, and he just completely got the better of him, because all of a sudden Alisson completely forgot that. I've actually got to go and get a ball here. He was too worried about Mikel Antonio, right? And all of a sudden the ball was past him, and he's looking at this bloke going, "You just hustled me," and Antonio's going, "You fucking bet I did, kid, yeah." You know, like that's, and for Klopp to come out and be like, blah blah blah. I just thought that was, I was like, this is a bit far, pal. You know, because I am a fan of his, and I will hold my hands up. He's a fucking genius, the man. But don't be getting salty over stuff like that, because it was your keeper you should have been aiming stuff at, not the fucking ref in the lineup.
Well, I know as a Chelsea fan in lockdown what Klopp is capable about trying to wind lads up. So it's nice to see the fucking. It's nice to see the roles reversed. Pipe down. You only won one league, giving it all the big one. Go on, Super Frank. Next topic.
Let's get on to the hot topics. So, Darren, we'll start with Ollie. Under serious pressure, change needs to happen, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely, man.
You go.
I'd use the word disgraceful that we haven't seen a reaction from the board yet. It's nothing short of disgraceful that the club is being allowed to go in the direction it's going, and somebody somewhere is sitting at a desk and think this is fucking okay. This is so not okay on so many levels. It's absolutely scary. Now I get there's a chain of command, and I get it's got to be the owners, it's got to be the chief executive, it's got to be, and it's got to go in a certain. And you know, to be honest with you, I won't really get pissed off until this international window is over, because I still feel we might get that change that we're craving and that we need. But if we rock up in a couple of weeks' time, and he's there, like that's really scary as a United fan, if I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you ask you, Darren, as well, just as as a man, but also as a fellow football fan. What's happened to Paul Scholes? Is he all right in the old fucking yed or what? Like, or is the ginger finally getting to him? Like, he's coming out with some absolute tripe, you know, nibbling on his daughter's toes on social media, and then on top of that, basically saying United are a better team and have a better defense than Chelsea, and they'll easily beat them, which will probably see him get through the next game. Like, is he? You know,
I think it's one of two things. I think it's A, it's wishful thinking, and I think B, he's looking at his mate and he knows he's, somebody somewhere is lining up two barrels from him, and he's trying to go, oh, you know what? Like when shit like this happens, he comes out and we get a performance and blah blah blah. And we spoke about that, and we said, when he's had his back up against the wall, they've come out and they've had a performance. But we saw what happened to Liverpool. We saw what happened to City. Like, if the board allowed this to happen in 2-3 weeks' time at Chelsea, who else is to blame here? Like, and
the only reason I'm saying that, and I'm bringing up the Scholes thing, is it's not just to have a go, even though it's fun to do that, because we like banter, of course.
Yeah,
and it is
danger, and they've no souls and stuff like that as well. So that's not that either.
But most importantly, it's like he's setting a precedent for fans that actually kind of idolize him as a former legend.
Yeah.
They're looking at him and saying that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Kind of going, no, Scholes, you need to be fucking in there the same way the rest of them are and say, this is not acceptable.
Yeah, I think, the only saving grace from a United point of view is a lot of the other guys, the likes of Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville, Roy Keane have all come out and said, listen, we're friends of Ollie's, we back Ollie, and we hope he does a great job, but we're at the point now where it's no return, lads. It's time to make the difficult decision. It's time to, take old Yeller out the back there and, fucking cock that bleeding shotgun and blow his brains out, because
it's time to get back on the couch and
United are on and on.
Yeah, it's time to get back on the couch and watch 99 again. United on repeat.
Yeah, United are on to an absolute loser here at the minute. They really, really are. Not only is the side floundering, but I think the confidence of the players in that squad is being drained and sapped on the daily. Like you look at, and I mean, as a Chelsea fan and as a Liverpool fan, right? Here's a question I would ask to you two lads. If you had Thomas Tuchel, right, and you gave him the United squad, and if you had Jurgen Klopp and you gave him the United squad, what would you expect from them?
Top 3, top 2, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, are you asking the question as in like where I would expect him to finish, or like
what would success be for you with that squad?
All right, well,
because
it would be.
If I look at the squad, like there's everything in that squad to mount a serious challenge. You know,
I'll disagree with you to say I don't think there's everything to mount like a proper challenge to Liverpool, Chelsea just yet. I think there's a squad there that that's not, and I'm going to be honest here. I'm not saying that means that the squad isn't great. I just think that some people think the squad is actually better than it is. I think there's some standouts, but I don't think if you look at the 24-man squad as a whole, I definitely think you have potential.
And is that based on what they've shown you at United, or what you think they're capable of?
Probably. To be fair, yeah, probably what they've shown me. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know one thing: if you had a Klopp or a Tuchel there, you wouldn't be seeing the treatment that Donny van de Beek has gotten, or what Jadon Sancho was getting at the moment. Like these lads would be nurtured.
They're two of the very first players that came to mind when I asked that question.
Yeah. I mean, straight away, I'm thinking Jadon Sancho, who I'm actually a big fan of, and was very disappointed he didn't come to Chelsea, considering he was a boyhood Chelsea fan and all. I thought surely we're in the mix here, but obviously,
we all make mistakes, Ian. Don't worry about it.
Price-wise, he obviously, they said no, and to be honest with you, it's not like the club needed him at this moment in time, whereas United did need someone like that. And guess what? United still needs someone like that, and he's not being utilised. He's literally, you've addressed the problem, the weak area that you needed, and he's not giving them a look in. I mean, I just want to call out Fred again, lads. I was watching that game myself the other day. I watched it from start to finish. I mean, he must have something on Ollie, because the lad, it's incredible that he is still allowed to play at the centre mid for Man United during all of this.
I can be quite protective over Fred, I have to be honest. And United fans, even, not even Chelsea or Liverpool fans, United fans will look at me and go, Pally, you are right, But for me, like, and I'll make this like as simple as I can. Like, that United jersey to me means absolutely everything, right? Absolutely everything. When I see Pogba in a United jersey, that jersey doesn't mean anything to Paul Pogba, because he's got the type of talent that most people would kill for. But the jersey doesn't look like it matters a fuck to him. Whereas Fred, I think, is the complete opposite end of the conversation. I don't believe he's got the talent to wear the United jersey, but I think he's aware what the jersey means, and I think he goes out and he puts an absolute shift in every week. That's not to say the level of quality that he brings to the game is what's warranted. But if you're a guy at Man United and the manager keeps backing you and keeps playing you, what are you going to say? You're going to say, listen, Gaffer, take me out of this. I'm not fucking, So from Fred's point of view, he's not really doing a whole lot wrong. And he's putting the effort in that I would want from a United player. Now, the quality and where we gauge that is completely different. And I'm not suggesting for a minute that he does have the quality. But I'm saying his work rate and his ethic, in comparison to some of those guys out there, I can see why Ollie says, I'm going to go with this kid instead of someone else. Do you know?
Yeah, I suppose the other thing, and I'm going to put this out and see what you think, and it might sound a bit controversial here. You mentioned Darren there, like if Tuchel had United or if Klopp had United.
Yeah.
Would Tuchel or Klopp play Ronaldo in the team?
I don't think Klopp would. I think Tuchel would be more inclined of the two, but that's not necessarily to say he would be, a mainstay in the Tuchel setup. I've said it for a couple of games now. When we line up with Ronaldo, we play with 10 men. His work, and that's where I suppose that's where I would look at somebody like Fred and say, yeah, okay, it's very, very evident this kid hasn't got the tools maybe to be a Man United player. But when you go out and you put the work rate and the effort in, that gets you up a little bit higher on the ladder. Whereas Ronaldo is the complete opposite. Ronaldo, we know, has the ability and has the technique and can do. There's not a whole lot on a pitch Cristiano Ronaldo can't do, but at times he's looked very kind of one-paced for United. It does look like the years are starting to catch up on him slightly. Not from a finishing point of view, not from a sharpness point of view, but from a work rate point of view.
That's
from a how many kilometers am I covering? What I know with the likes of Jurgen Klopp, there's an absolute baseline of what you have to cover to get near a Jurgen Klopp team. And I don't think Ronaldo gets within 60 to 70% of that. So I don't think he plays at all. I think Tuchel will play a different sort of game. And I think maybe he will probably not start with Ronaldo, but will bring him off the bench knowing I can get something out of this guy because he is a finisher and he will score me goals, especially in the later periods of games when people slow down and maybe he's as good at the end of a game as he at the start of a game.
I'm just thinking, like I was thinking out loud today, thinking about the United situation.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, although Ronaldo's been outstanding on some of the moments he's created this year and got Ali out of prison and the team out of prison a couple of times, stuff like that, is the reality of the way United's playing, is part of it down to the accommodation of Ronaldo?
Yeah.
And if it is, how do you resolve that? Or do you just keep on going with it as the norm, let's say?
Can I just say one thing as well, just because I'm sure there's Man United fans and football fans in general here saying, lads, someone needs to address this as well. Make no fucking mistake about it. If United didn't have Ronaldo at this moment in time, they could be in a worse fucking predicament.
Absolutely.
So, do you know what I mean? Because if they didn't have Ronaldo against Atlanta the other night, they lose that game easy.
If you just touch on that for a minute.
Don't tell me that Cavani is going to be the answer.
No. But if you just touch on that for a minute, if Ronaldo wasn't there and you had a player in there who was working really hard and creating that press, I know Ronaldo pops up with the finishes and the goals. I know that, but if United's work rate was up a level and Ronaldo wasn't in there, and you had a guy in there, let's say a Rashford on his day or whatever it is, when he's on top form or whatever it is, would United find themselves in the problems that they find themselves in matches? Again,
I'll debunk that one because these players have been there over the course of these few years before Ronaldo came in, and they were still in the same position. Ronaldo has made United...
They weren't in the same position.
No, they weren't in the same position.
So that's absolute bullshit.
All right, yeah, but they weren't challenging properly for titles, as in within a couple of points here. Do you know what I mean? They were still. I know they came ahead of us last year and whatnot. But what I'm saying is, Ronaldo,
we finished second, but we're still what? What are we?
We're still off. That's what I'm saying. So they weren't properly, challenging for the titles, and they certainly haven't won any cups and whatnot.
Well, no, I thought. If you look at last year, though,
I'm just kind of baffling that we're talking.
But you have to say it for what it is. If you think about it, 10 weeks out from the end of the league last year, United were 10 points off City with 2 games in hand. Yeah. So in theory, they kind of were in the title race.
Yeah.
I don't think they were in it for very long. It wasn't sustained. It's not like it was going week on week.
All right. Okay, going by that logic then. With the amount of games that were into the season, then let's take the fucking finger off the panic button. They're still within a title race because that can happen. All it takes is that one change.
But what I'm asking you in is that one change. Is that one change Solskjaer potentially for a new manager, which could be the case, or is it the fact of Solskjaer accommodating the likes of Ronaldo there, and is his stymieing of the play potentially a problem?
This is my personal opinion on it. I think if you had a good manager worth of salt who knew what to fucking do, which Solskjaer is not, I still think you find a way to have Ronaldo within that team and play a better brand of football. If you have the likes of a Jadon Sancho or a Greenwood then, or Rashford, whatever it is, playing in and around them, and they have that fucking movement up top, of course Ronaldo's going to benefit your team in there with the amount of goals he scores. If you say he doesn't, then you may as well just stop watching football.
I didn't say he doesn't benefit.
Not you.
No, but you know what I mean? I made the points, but the point I'm making is because of the lack of work rate from him.
Not Ronaldo. Solskjaer, and only Solskjaer.
Listen, here's the thing. Solskjaer is absolutely a problem, right? He's absolutely a problem. We know that, right? But I can completely understand where Niall is bringing the question from.
It's a fair question, yeah.
Because, 3 weeks out from the start of the season, Ronaldo was nowhere really on our radar. Do you know what I mean? And we were going to go in with Cavani, and we were going to go in with a Rashford and Sancho out wide, and have these two lads going to full backs and with a guy in the middle and stuff like that, whose work rate, by the way, is absolutely double what Ronaldo brings you all day long. Absolutely double. His finishing isn't what Ronaldo's is. However, at times, when you're not creating enough chances for Ronaldo to finish, you may as well have a guy in there that's going to outwork him, because you're not creating the chances anyway. You know, so
I see that point. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, that makes sense. But,
Yeah.
Darren, on that point then that you make, doesn't that go back to the manager then? Because you're not playing a brand of football.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. It does. And I suppose for me, and from a United point of view, like, it do for United, or for Ronaldo to have a big part at United, it doesn't necessarily mean he has to play every minute of every game, which
I agree with that.
Has to this point. Yeah. You know, like, we know the next day United play, we can name 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 7 players who are absolutely nailed on the play. We can name them now, right? Yeah. And we're 2 weeks out. Yeah. Like, we probably can't do that in a lot of the other top squads. I know I can't do that, Man City, because you can never, you know, second guess Pep Guardiola because of how he likes to change the squad around so much. And the reason he does that is, and for me, and the thing he does so well is, he keeps that harmony amongst the squad, and he gives players minutes when they need it, as opposed to, you know, basically at the minute, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer looks like he's related to fucking Vince McMahon, because he has buried Donny van de Beek, and he has fucking buried Jadon Sancho. And until he steps out, and until somebody else comes in and breathes new life into that, and breathes new life into these two lads, and gives them a legitimate hope of, you can be a star here. You can be, you know, you came here to have a foundation to show your talent, and we're going to give you that foundation. Solskjaer won't give any of those lads a foundation. You can absolutely bet the next day we play, McTominay and Fred will go in the midfield. Donny will sit in the sideline and wonder, why can't these lads pass the ball 5 yards forward, right? And Sancho will probably be stuck on the bench because he's got someone else in a fucking position shoehorned. So that's a big problem, you know?
Yeah, we did mention, or I did mention at the start of the season when we were doing our Premier League preview of the season, I mentioned with the likes of Ronaldo coming in, of Varane and Sancho, that would create a serious problem for Solskjaer in terms of the management of the squad. And like, we know how it's going to end. If he drops Ronaldo, we know how that's going to end anyway. So either way, it's going to end anyway. But I just think, I don't know. I'm just in two minds about it when I look at it, you know.
So Darren said that there. Darren, sorry, you said that about Klopp and Tuchel. You mentioned about Pep Guardiola. That's one of the things that Tuchel has done fantastically, is his rotation and management of the squad, and keeping everyone happy with minutes and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's been one of his biggest assets, actually. But bringing them in with a fucking hunger. We mentioned Hudson-Odoi earlier.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
As opposed to, say, when I look at Donny and I look at Jadon coming in, right? They look like two kids that, if we don't do something, we're not getting a fucking look in again, right? Which is the complete opposite to looking like I'm raring to go because I get an opportunity to showcase my talents to this guy in the stand who picks this squad week to week, right?
Yeah.
So even his man management skills on that sense there's a struggle there as well, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Big time.
100%. We spoke about Daniel Farke getting sacked already, and we spoke about Dean Smith being let go already by Aston Villa. A couple of other points I want to touch on. Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini this week. Charges of fraud being brought to, on both men.
Can I just say on that, and I'm going to take my glasses off for this. Good enough for the pair of cunts. They have ruined and pissed all over football for long enough. I hope to sweet baby Jesus that they lock you the fuck up with Larry Murphy and he kicks your back door in. Take that, fuckers.
Larry's still on the run, unfortunately. But I agree with you in principle.
We'll find a different Larry.
The biggest disappointment for me out of those two, the biggest disappointment for me is Michel Platini, a player that I grew up idolizing. Now, he was before my time, so I didn't get to see the full extent of his ability on the pitch. But I did have I had a couple of Juventus VHSs, as you know. Those boys existed in the likes of chapters and stuff like that. You go in there with your little £5 and you pick up two for one. And I remember I got a Juventus, like a history of Juventus VHS. And this is like as Zidane was still playing, and my God, Michel Platini was one of the most beautiful players to watch on a football pitch with a ball at his feet, and to see kind of that level of corruption that man's been involved in just absolutely breaks my heart.
Yeah,
but I concur with what Darren said as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, though. You know, that's the biggest disappointment.
Yeah,
because we're not the only people that have watched Michel Platini and seen him. Like, my dad would have always spoken to me about footballers, and I'd say, oh, did you see such and such a player? And it would be a modern day player, and my father would bring it back and he'd say, no Jimmy Greaves, no Michel Platini, no Di Stefano, someone like that. And I'd be kind of going, who are these guys? Right. And then, the alpha starts educating. He's like, listen, have a look at this. This is, to see somebody that, because I don't believe it's possible for you to be Michel Platini and not be in love with football. Because even if you watch him play football, he looks like he plays football from the heart. But it just goes to show you that even when you get in those positions of power, greed is just going to absolutely take over you and it's going to eat you inside like a cancer until you eventually go, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna have a little hand in this too. And well,
it's like David Beckham now. I mean, that cunt, he's at the turnaround now, and apparently he pockets something like 23 million or something ridiculous from this World Cup just for being.
And the rest,
you know what I mean?
He signed a 150 million deal over 10 years to promote the World Cup and to promote the UAE. 15 million a year for the next 10 years.
It's absolutely disgusting, isn't it? Like a lad.
Well, here's the only thing, though, and the only thing I'll say in Beckham's defence is he's done that based on brand Beckham. He hasn't done that by doing anything dishonourable.
Oh, I'm not saying that he's done that dishonourable.
That's where
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that I compare Beckham to those guys in terms of any sort of corruption, but it is still disgusting, isn't it? And that's kind of what bothers me when I hear people going, oh, footballers aren't too much. I said, no, I want to see the boys that are the boots on the ground earn as much money as possible in their fucking short career, instead of these fucking clowns still earning multi-billion fucking dollar deals or euro.
Yeah, I don't know. I think 15 million a year to have Bram Beckham on your side is probably cheap, being honest.
I think so.
Just taking allowed, like in terms of branding and stuff like that,
Yeah, but then you can't moan then when fucking Ronaldo gets 300 grand a week then and give it the big one, you know what I mean? And go, oh, well, they're earning too much money. Like, if I'll tell you one thing, if Mo Salah is demanding 300 grand a week to sign a new contract at Liverpool, well then, if Bram Beckham is worth that, well then Mo Salah is worth 300 grand a week, and fans shouldn't piss and moan about it.
It's a very different. You're not comparing like with like.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, it is. Yeah, because you can't compare. You can't compare the power of Bram Beckham and what he did in the game to what Mo Salah's going through at the moment.
I don't give a fuck about Bram Beckham, because if you're a Liverpool,
but you don't. But there's millions and millions and millions of people out there who actually do.
Yeah,
and you're actually in the minority by not caring about Bram Beckham.
No, but what I'm saying is, well, no, I don't care about Bram Beckham because I don't lose sleep over Bram Beckham. If United fans think Bram Beckham is the best thing ever because they're gay for him, that's not my problem. The thing about it is, he was an average footballer, certainly not at the level of a Platini or anything like that. He's there because of his looks and because of what the odd free kick. Don't tell me that Beckham is in the same sentence as someone like a Del Piero or whatever. His brand is based on his looks. If you tell me I'm wrong there, please tell me how I'm wrong, if you can.
I don't think it's just that. I mean, he has
is he up there in the top 10 footballers of all time? No,
he wouldn't be in the top 10 footballers of all time. But that, I mean, you could be in the top 50 footballers of all time and still have huge earning power.
No, you do. But what I'm saying to you is, if if you go, that's grand, he's earned that because of Brand Beckham, that's grand. Well, Brand Liverpool is based on someone like a Mo Salah. And I'm using Liverpool at the moment purely because Mo Salah, in my opinion, is the best player in the world. So and again, I'm not making an argument for the sake of an argument here. The point I'm making is that Mo Salah at this moment of time, if he turned around to Liverpool tomorrow and said, I believe that I'm worth 300 grand a week, right? And if Liverpool say that's fucking ridiculous money, he's just a fucking, you know, whatever you want to call him. He's just an assassin. You know what I mean? He doesn't care about the club. Real Madrid will pay him that money. You know, someone else will pay him that money. So that's what he's worth as a brand. So what I'm saying is we can't turn around and go, well, that's Brand Beckham. That's all right for him. But
I'm not. But see, I'm not disagreeing with either. I'm agreeing with you on both. But what I'm saying is, I don't think you can devalue the value of having the likes of Beckham involved in a World Cup like that. And at 15 million, I think that's cheap in terms of the size of his branding and the eyes that it brings on it and stuff like that. That's all I'm saying. Because 15 million
is huge anyway. Do you know what I mean?
But they still spend a fortune on it, because you got to remember what's involved now as well. You got to remember there's a lot of charity stuff in the background here as well that gets brought into this as well. He's a huge player in terms of charity work and stuff like that as well, Beckham, you know. So you have to allow for that as well.
I know, but the charity stuff comes into it there, like, you know.
I think in looking at it now, and I've read a couple of his books as well and stuff like that, and I think in terms of his charity work, there's a sincerity there in terms of the stuff that he has done. I don't think it's questionable, and it's not to be liked or that kind of thing. I mean, he's been heavily involved in charity work for a long time now, and some of them that, like, he's involved in Amnesty and stuff like that and all, so he's involved in big stuff, you know.
Yeah, but I've more respect for players like Mane, Sané and Drogba, who literally build hospitals out of their own hard-earned money in basically war-torn countries.
Oh yeah, I'm not disagreeing with any of that either. And you see it with Mo Salah at the moment, and with Sadio Mane as well. They're all doing that kind of stuff now. So yeah, and that's exactly. and the more of that's done by more people, the better. Yeah. You know,
just this love-in with Beckham just baffles me with some people. I have to say, it really.
It's not a love-in. Really it's the popularity of it is massive. It's massive.
Yeah, I know, and I understand it, and it's like the popularity with anything. Do you know what I mean? But I suppose when I see the corruption of the World Cup, you know, he's such a charity-loving guy that he wants to make money from it. That's all my opinion is.
Yeah, but I suppose we don't look the 15 million a year. We don't even know where, you know, 10 million of that could be going to certain charities connected where or something like that. It's not just
know that either.
No, we don't know, but we don't know either that he's just shoving it in his back pocket.
By the way, just to really stick it up people's arse now, and I'm going to really play the heel. Stop fucking bitching and moaning about Bono then, motherfuckers, because that lad does more charity work than fucking anyone. Yeah, everyone still hates him. So there you go. Is it really a case of, well, I like that person, or no, I like him more than the other person? So
yeah. But I suppose getting back to Bladder and Michel Platini, the one thing that disappointed me about Platini in this, and again, these are all charges pending again, we should put that out there. It's nothing's.
Yeah, well, we're not accusing anybody of anything.
But I think the one thing that disappointed me in terms of the charges against Platini was the fact that he was originally put in there to sort out the corruption, if you remember.
I know.
That was his role, you know.
That was, and I was real happy about that. You know, it's kind of like they were trying to bring Luis Figo into that role recently enough, remember?
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking, and I love Luis Figo. Who doesn't? Yeah. You know what I mean? The original Portuguese, well, not the original Portuguese superstar, obviously Eusebio was, but I mean, in our lifetime,
the original heel.
Oh, absolutely!
Remember the pig's heads onto the pitch and everything.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I had, believe it or not, I was very lucky enough that I have, as you know, I have an uncle who lives in Madrid.
Yeah.
And he brought me over the Figo jersey, which was stolen on me by a female, believe it or not. Stolen. Okay. Yeah. Not even by me. Just happened to be in my house.
She'd good taste.
Well, yeah, definitely. And I think she was only wearing it as a night dress because one of my cousins had her over. I was like, you son of a bitches. But,
you should have turned around and said the last person who messed with that jersey got a pig's head thrown at him. She mightn't have touched it then.
So bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, run it back, love. No, listen, again, I don't want to spend too much time on that either because, as I said, we're dealing in, you know, it's speculation technically, but you know, we know what's up, but we can't obviously start driving the hammer down.
Absolutely. Xavi appointed first team coach at Barcelona.
Great move. Probably the best move they made in a long time, in my opinion. Obviously, a player. I've always preferred Xavi over Iniesta, even, and that's not a slight on Iniesta. I always thought Xavi was that Andrea Pirlo type player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He went about his business in a bit more of a quiet manner. I mean, I believe he probably finished on like a fucking 100% pass success rate when he retired, did he? Because I've never seen him give the ball away. Beautiful footballer. As much as it pains me to say, everyone knows I have no time for Barcelona whatsoever. But I mean, my team played them enough in the actual heyday, to know how good they are. Maybe that's why I probably can't stand them a little bit, to be fair. Yeah. But Xavi, I always thought, was the one that. I mean, he's not underrated by any stretch of the imagination. No. People that know. But it's kind of like Pep Guardiola as a player. People forget how good a player Pep Guardiola was.
Yeah. It's one of those appointments that's a real good appointment, I think, in terms of football. But I think also it's vital at this time in Barcelona, because there is upheaval there at the moment. They're not doing too well, and like they needed to kind of put someone in there that the fans could look to and go, yeah, he's our guy and we can nail onto him. So I
think so. And like, obviously he's been managing in like a Saudi team or whatever, that he was playing with, and it was kind of weird to see, wasn't it, when you looked at the videos of all the lads crying around him. So you obviously saw how much he obviously meant to. They even put on a goodbye dinner for him and everything, and it was kind of nice to see, wasn't it? That kind of it's kind of like when you remember when Mourinho left Inter Milan and you could see him crying out in the back with Materazzi and all the boys. Yeah. I'm like, Jesus, this is more than football to some of these lads.
The value of him, the value of him. Yeah, the value of him.
And I think Barcelona definitely, if this is going to be the new guard of Barcelona, and you want someone to bring in the new blend of players they have, because I mean, it looks like La Masia is not what it was, not what it once was. I mean, they're still churning out players, but at the same time, it's not the way it was, because obviously you've seen Chelsea have kind of built their model on the La Masia model, which is very important for football, because that's obviously what Cobham is now. When you see the amount of players that are getting churned out there, and you can see obviously Man City have kind of went and done the same with Liverpool. So it's not the only academy in town anymore, kind of thing. So it's not like you can bring up a Pep from the academy because of how successful they were, and then just expect them to play that kind of football. They are in a serious upheaval, I think, to get their maybe a little bit of their brand back too. I don't want to say too much their brand. The brand's always going to be there, but definitely their brand of football, maybe you might say.
I think Xavi ticks the boxes at so many levels. So I think for me, I think it's the right appointment at the right time. And I think Koeman, in terms of his staunchy kind of way and demeanor and stuff, I think it was becoming too much for him anyway.
100%.
Let's round out the show. Eddie Howe appointed Newcastle manager on a 2.5-year contract. What was you thinking on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, would you? I know there was talk about obviously Lampard possibly, or Fonseca, or I think it's an interesting appointment, isn't it? I'd like to hear your thoughts on it first, actually, because I don't know, like, you know, is this the Eddie Howe that when he first came on the scene, he was this bright young fucking lad who had all this kind of stuff to prove? And then I'm thinking, right, if they bring Lampard in, then you've definitely got someone who's got something to prove, and obviously got the name value to attract a certain clientele of player. Then you've got Fonseca, who plays a nice brand of football too. So you could have really flipped the coin between those two. But the Eddie Howe one then just came out of nowhere for me, and it was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I suppose a couple of things when I looked at it. One, I was surprised at the 2.5-year contract. I thought it would have been maybe 18 months or a year and a half with an option to extend for a further year or something like that, you know. So it was kind of a get out of clause for both parties if needed. I really liked Eddie Howe at Bournemouth at the time when he was playing a good brand of football, but obviously they did get relegated. But it's kind of weird that he hasn't kind of, since he left Bournemouth, you know, he hasn't been, you know, he hasn't chased down another job, if you like. And he's been a bit away from the game. But I think Newcastle have tried to bring in a couple of different managers and I'm not sure Eddie Howe was the first choice. So does that allow you to lead to believe that it could be kind of like Spurs when they couldn't get in the manager that they wanted, they got in Nuno and it didn't quite work out. And I wonder, could this be kind of similar, even though I think Eddie Howe, I think he's a footballing man through and through. But I just don't know, is he the guy that's going to excite the Newcastle fan base in the furore of the takeover and the money that's available and all that? Like, do you see Eddie Howe sitting across the table from Lautaro Martinez or players like that and convincing them to come to Newcastle, to Project Newcastle or whatever it is? I'm not too sure if that's the case, and I don't want to do Eddie Howe a disservice. But if I'm a Newcastle fan, or if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd be sitting here now slightly deflated at Eddie Howe being appointed as my manager, based on the build-up of the takeover and the financial wealth that's involved.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all the above. I think, if you were looking at a Fonseca and Lampard, they probably were saying, no, I'm not taking that fucking 6-month contract or the year and a half contract just to be led to the slaughter. Kind of like the Ranieri effect when, when Roman first took over, like dead man walking kind of thing.
Yeah.
So maybe, it's kind of worked out for the likes of Fonseca and obviously Lampard there, because obviously the Villa job is at the coming up and the Norwich job is at the coming up. And you're thinking, I'd rather get me 2 or 3 years there so I can actually work with this squad and fucking try and do something. So I think that I'd say that there was conversations probably had with those two managers, like you said, and there was no agreement there purely because they weren't willing to do that. Whereas I think if you're an Eddie Howe, you kind of do need to get your name back out there, don't you? You know what I mean? And build up a little bit of a, build up a bit of a name value again, but build your stock back up.
Yeah, I kind of got the feeling with the Eddie Howe appointment was, look, we'll put him in there. We'll give him some money to spend in January. We'll try and bring in a few players. We'll try and hang in there in terms of relegation battle. And if we get a bit of quality in, it might be able to dig us out. But it was kind of, when I looked at it, it was kind of like, but if we go down, it won't be that big a deal because Eddie Howe will be there. He's a proven manager in the Championship, so he'd probably bring us back up. And then maybe we want to appoint maybe a star manager or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So I just wonder whether they're looking at a number of different situations that could evolve out of this. And the fact that you've had 5 managerial sackings and we're only in November and 5 new managers coming in means that pot down the bottom there of relegation, nothing has still been decided yet in terms of, everyone looks at Norwich and thinks, look, they're shoehorned in there. They're a guarantee to go down. And that's kind of how they operate. They come up, they get the Premier League money, they go back down, they come up, they go back down, they yo-yo in and out of the league all the time. But I just think it's going to be interesting to see now who goes back into Norwich and who goes into Aston Villa. Like if a Lampard went into Aston Villa and was given a few bob to spend and got those players humming, it might be a very different situation,
Yeah, I think so. I think, I think Lampard's probably made for Villa, isn't he? Kind of. They're not expecting, top 4 or anything like that. But he's shown what he can do with a kind of a young squad, a diverse squad. I think Terry was kind of pushing for him to get that gig as well. And he obviously knows the setup of Villa and whatnot.
Get the band back together.
Yeah, but maybe. Personally, if I'm Villa, I'm thinking, why not give John Terry his first shot at international or, at club management? Because he was under the learning tree of Dean Smith and apparently was kind of well respected in that locker room and certainly sorted their defence out big time because that was his role there. Yeah. At a time when Villa's defence was shocking, if you remember, before he came in. So that'd be an interesting one. Yeah, I think Villa makes more sense for me as a club if I'm a Lampard or one of those younger managers and thinking, right, this might be a club that'll give me the 2 or 3 seasons.
Well, you certainly have a better quality of player to coach and work with. That's for sure. So there's kind of a foundation there that you could move with,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that was just interesting to get your thoughts on that to round out the show because I
just have Nuno on there as well. He looks kind of lost for words though.
Yeah, I think it could be a while before he springboards back into the Premier League, though. If he comes back in.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, my battery dived off there, lads. I'm back now.
That's all good.
Yeah, I think Nuno will struggle after Spurs, if I'm honest. It was the stepping stone that maybe he was looking for, but it really didn't go the way he wanted. And I think instead of a stepping stone or a springboard, it's going to really knock him for six. I think, you'll see him maybe in Portugal or Spain before you see him back in England, and he'll have to do something to warrant someone rolling the dice on him again.
Yeah. Is there a route back to Wolves for him possibly?
Certainly not at the minute. I would argue they're playing better football under Bruno Lage. Now listen, whether the likes of a Norwich decide he's something we could work with, but for me, I don't believe he goes from Wolves to Spurs and then from Spurs to Norwich. Mentally, I just think if you're going to Norwich, you're giving up on this and you're saying, I'm going back to the Championship. And I think after the couple of years he's had at Wolves, I don't think he'd be willing to take that sort of a backward step for now in the English football, Yeah.
Darren, just to get your thoughts, we were rounding out the show there, myself and Ian, giving our thoughts on Eddie Howe being appointed as Newcastle manager. Give us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm just going to remind you, Niall, this was my shout from the word go, yeah?
It was, yeah.
Another one of my Mystic Meg predictions, I just thought it was going to be a really good fit. He'd obviously come very, very close to joining Celtic, and there was issues with the backroom staff and with money and stuff like that. And I think Eddie Howe's a really good manager. He's a strong candidate for Newcastle for the next 18 months. He'll stabilise that club. He'll get them playing a much better brand of football. He'll obviously have money to spend, and I think guys are going to come and play for a young progressive manager quicker than they're going to come and play for Steve Bruce, aren't they? So I think it's a good fit, but I don't certainly think it's the fit that Newcastle will want. Anything longer than maybe 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, he got a 2.5-year contract.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he sees that out now, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I was saying to him that maybe they would have went down the road with an 18-month contract with an option of a year to extend.
Yeah.
But
it may have been from an Eddie Howe point of view that he wouldn't agree on that. And I mean, from Newcastle's point of view, what's his salary going to be? So I mean, what's it genuinely going to cost them to give him the extra 12 months, 4 or 5 million? It's going to be a drop in the ocean to Newcastle at this stage when we talk about the kind of money that's there. So I think for them, it's you get the right person in for the job rather than getting the wrong person in for the wrong reasons.
And they were struggling to get a manager over the line as well because Brucey's been gone now a couple of weeks at this stage.
Brucey's been gone. I think they told Graham Jones he was going to have 3 games till the international window, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they've kind of stuck to that, and they've planned it out, and they ideally wanted to name someone this week to give them a little bit of time with the team. And you're looking now, you're talking probably got 10 days with the team because you're off today and probably tomorrow. So he's got a little bit of time that he can start working on something. There's not too many of them Newcastle players are going to be on international duty, is there?
Tell us this, Darren. If you're a Newcastle fan, if you're a Geordie today and the appointment of Eddie Howe, if you think about the furore that went on in terms of the takeover and the wealth and we're the richest club in the world and all this kind of thing that they were going on about, are they going to be happy with Eddie Howe?
I think, as we spoke about with Nuno, I think it's a stepping stone. I don't believe they were in a position to attract the kind of name they wanted right now because of the position they're in. Whereas I think that solidifying of Premier League status and stuff like that will give them an opportunity. And if they can pick up 1 or 2 players and maybe start to, there's been massive rumours going around already. I know we've heard Marc-Andre ter Stegen from Barcelona, and we've seen the boy Nicolas Sully from Bayern Munich. They've been linked heavily with Newcastle, and which would be 2 unbelievable signings for Newcastle, if I'm honest. That's what they're aiming for. But I think, to go where they want to go ultimately, Eddie won't be their end goal, but he'll certainly be the stepping stone,
Yeah, I just think it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. He'll need to get a couple of quick wins under his belt and stuff like that, and to settle it down. I think if it goes a bit pear-shaped and they go maybe 3 or 4 on the bounce without a win, I think they might be going in hard again.
I don't think the results will be everything to begin with. I think what might appease the Newcastle fans will be the style of play, because they were very, very poor under Bruce.
But they do need points on the board, don't they?
They do, of course. But I mean, again, like if you're a Newcastle fan and you're thinking they're going to pick up points here and there, they're still going to be in a relegation fight for probably the whole season. And they're eyeing up that January window thinking, when is this here so we can get a couple of bodies in and help? But I mean, to progress between now and then, performances would mean everything, I think. And especially if they were scoring a couple of goals, and they were getting people buzzing a little bit and getting fans back into the stadium and stuff like that. I think that would be important for them rather than just, we need them to win 5 on the bounce. I think that's ideal, but I don't think that's football for now,
No. Well, it's certainly going to be intriguing to see how he progresses in the job, especially with not being able to pull the trigger really till the 1st of January in terms of spend. Well, lads, a pleasure as always having you on the Monday Mashup. We will return in 2 weeks' time because it is a sabbatical international break. But as always, head over to YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network. There's always content going up there on a daily basis. An absolute plethora of shows going up every single day. Spotify for audio versions of the show. Let us know your comments down below. Is Ronaldo the problem? Is Ollie the problem? Will how work out? Let's see what happens. It's going to be an absolute belter. We will.
Would you like to see Larry Murphy get his hands on Platini and Blatter? Tell us in the comments below.
Splatter blatter. Till next time. Pleasure, man. Talk to you real soon.